Hello, I'm ToycatA, and one of the crazy things about 1.17 we've seen so far, just from the snapshots, is people doubting the usefulness of shulker boxes, because I mean, they're basically just bundles, right? But no, let me show you the power of shulker boxes by taking one from here in my chest room, and then a second shulker box from here in the nether, and then between these two shulker boxes, one filled with blackstone, one filled with dirt, I'm going to be doing everything I need to in today's video, and do you see the length of this thing? That's how long these two shulker boxes, these two inventory slots, are going to last me. But what exactly are we doing today? Well, I'm glad you asked, me in a sarcastic rhetorical tone, because hello, I'm ToycatA, and welcome back to the episode of the Minecraft Bedrock Update Adventures Let's Play, the weekly update as to what's been going on in my Update Adventures world, as well as life, the universe, and everything in between. But here is my Update Adventures world, or at least a 3000 by 3000 area. Every single little pixel on this map represents one dot in the world, and it takes 225 maps to display this area, but it's a really beautiful thing regardless, right? And one of the things I accidentally did recently is I accidentally showed off these hexagons on the map from my little hexagon land, and I really liked the way that it just appeared out of nowhere. And then I realized I have so many ocean maps that have nothing on them, and here's one in particular that already has a weird line going through it because of a weird bedrock rendering bug. You can see that there is a map which we're going to put in our offhand for today. We've got this map which is entirely blue, and although having an entirely blue map, that it floats. I don't have a left hand right now. Huh, that's a weird one. But having a blue map is fun and all, but what if we use this as an opportunity to do some art? Because an interesting thing about item frames is if you put a normal item in them, like a torch, it'll take up just the middle of the frame. If you put a map in them, like say this one right here, or any of these other ones, it takes up the entirety of the frame, which means by making lots of copies of this map, we could make lots of blue areas, and we could make an entire blue wall that actually was pretty convincing, but also we could fill in this map and we could do some decorations of another form. That's right, I'm going to be doing some map art today, but first I need to get over to where my map is. It's over here somewhere, so I need to go slightly in that direction. We can actually use our map to work out where this particular map is, and to get there, we're just going to fly, and we'll have a vague idea of when we're in the area, because the map should update. The rendering issue that I had when I filled out the maps shouldn't be there anymore, but you never know for sure. So when we see a mild map update, we'll know we're in the right place. And flying and just praying that something changes might seem like a bad idea, but you know, with maps, it works just about well enough for us. We could also do the oh, there we go. See, we're in the right place because the map just filled in. I'll also recognize the place because it's just a sad, entirely blue ocean. And it should be somewhere around here as a result, I can therefore tell. And now, just to be really sure that I'm in the right place, because you really don't ever know 100% certainty unless you're doing the boring maths on how this stuff goes. Can we just place shulker boxes underwater? I guess we can. What we're going to do is we're going to start by placing some block anywhere on the surface and seeing if we can see it on this map. Again, when you have one of these tiny maps, or a scale 0 map I think it's called. Maybe it's scale 1 actually. When you have a level 0 map, you can see every single block represents 1 pixel. So we do a second pixel, and what does it look like? It looks like a second pixel, because there we go. And now we can, use our dirt to make some lovely brown drawings. Wow, we can make a brown line that says I. Or if we want to do a little thing at the top, it's a T. Oh wow, that's cool. We made a T, and now we can spell out words if we really want to, but those words will be in a map that we can put on a wall. Basically, we can draw our own block to use for something, or you could perhaps combine some letters and some symbols together, and that way when someone comes home after a long rainy day, they just want to get some sleep, they're really tired of what's been going on, you can remind them that hypothetically you love them, assuming it goes the right way. There we go. Look, you can write a little message on the ground, or you don't even have to write it on the ground. You got lots of options. Want to write it on the side of some stairs? Boom, you can do it there too. Basically, you can write anything you want, because every pixel represents a little dot on your pixel art, and this is a very ugly way to write I love you, but you know what, it's one of the many options you have available. But I'm going to be entirely honest, you know what, I want to do some pixel art for the things that I love, and that is not going to include you, internet. You know, I like you a lot, I value our relationship. Sometimes, if you watch the videos long enough, it even means that YouTube might show the video to other subscribers, and we end up in a place that's real great in that way. But you know what I really love is something else we're going to be drawing on today. By the way, I've opened 298 maps in this world. If this is map 298, right? That is a lot. Oh, there's wither skulls out here in the middle of the ocean. I don't know why. but apparently they're still there from the last Wither fight. Today I learned those things last a lot longer than you think. But today I figured I would, you know, like put some love in my Minecraft world for something I have a lot of, you know, appreciation for, or at the very least I want to put some symbolism off somewhere in my world because I want to do some map art. I feel like one of the few things that makes sense to do in an ocean as opposed to your end, because your end has a black background, if you ever want to do map art, pro tip, whereas this is a blue background, so the thing that makes the most sense is doing some physical maps, right? I have a deep appreciation of maps. I even have a whole channel dedicated to maps. How many channels do I have dedicated to you, singular subscriber? Not many. That's because I don't love you, unless you buy ToycatA merch or whatever YouTubers say as a semi-abusive parasocial relationship to trick you into buying things on my behest. But no, something I really like is you know, like the sense of vague nationality, I guess. Something I always liked is just the picture of the UK. You know, the outline of the UK, just something about that's like, yeah, that's cool. It doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, and most people who look at this world probably won't understand it if I try and draw this. But today, I'm going to use my Blackstone shulker box, and I'm going to draw the outline of the UK. That's how, in just 2 shulker boxes, we can do something actually pretty big and relatively impressive. I probably shouldn't have these be at the bottom of the ocean, but it's just such a fun and appealing premise to me. You know, on the side of the shulker boxes can go anywhere, and now I have instant access to all this stuff that I can use to draw the outline of the UK. But then you might question, why did you have all this dirt? ToycatA seems real pointless if you're just gonna use it to draw lines and then remove those lines. And, you know, it's a great filler block for that reason, just to have something you can later remove, because placing blocks in oceans can be hard. Same with placing blocks over your end. But basically, I feel like, you know what, today I'm going to be using the dirt as a way to have the landmass itself. Rather than just the outline, let's have like a filled in, you know, thing itself and fill it in with green. How do you make grass in Minecraft? You take dirt and then you add grass, which is an interesting method when you think about it, that just like dirt plus grass equals more grass. It's just, it's a game where it's an infinitely repeating cycle where it just grows and grows and grows, I guess. So the question of where we even begin this is one that's really kind of hard to do, but what I decided to do is I just decided to take a map of an outline of the UK, take it, you know, like, compress it down to 128 by 128 pixels, and then I figured, you know what, that should be useful enough for helping me kind of make decisions about roughly what it looks like, because everyone can tell that there's this interesting thing about, like, you know, flags and a lot of iconography where you can tell if it's meant to be something or you just can't. There's like this binary pass or fail. Like right now, if you look at this map, it's just some interpretive art, right? There's some brown, there's some white, there's some black. You can be like, wow, this is actually meant to indicate racism and self-selection of groups and how we don't really see the full picture at any one point in time, but really the full picture can't be seen. You know, I could make a great point about how this is interpretive artwork, but instead, no, this is just some random dots in a thing. But once you try and you complete, you're either going to complete it and it's going to go great, or it's not. It's really hard to know for sure which it is until the thing has been done, and that's why I'm just going to be working very vaguely off the outline, and we'll see if we start to indicate the UK. Because, you know, me being from here, right now I still can't tell what we're working on. Like, I know intuitively that we're on, like, the border of England and Scotland, but most people looking at that are just like, so that's a ziggity-zaggity line you've got there, ToycatA. That's a really good job. You keep that up. And the point at which someone from the UK will recognize it, that's a big win. And then the point at which anyone in the world will recognize it is the second big win that we're going to hope we can get to today, but I don't really know for sure. Okay, so right now it's looking a bit like Wales, I want to say, but mostly there's just a series of lines that no one can really interpret, and we have to work through adding to some of those lines, perhaps. And while we do that, oh, I need to go get all the blackstone. You know, leaving the 2 shulker boxes over there was a bad idea. But you know, while we're doing a lot of a task that involves lots of placing, you know, it means we have some time to talk. And you know what should we talk about? Wow, it turns out in this Let's Play, we happen to talk about what's been going on the last week, because I don't have a vlog series on my channel. I don't have a what's been going on. This is a good way to, like, catch up and be like, hey, what's been going on the last week, in case you care. Although there's a tiny chance you're watching this video, you have no cares, no idea who I even am, and then you're like, so ToycatA, why do you need to tell me about your life? I don't care about your life. Which is, statistically, technically speaking, most of the population at any given point in time doesn't care about your life. And isn't that nice? Like, some people see that as, like, dark, but I see it as, like, freeing, that so much of the world doesn't care. Like, you know, if you've got everyone looking at you all the time, it means that not only do some of those people hate you, which admittedly, like, if you're, I guess, whatever level of celebrity, you're arguably getting paid to be hated, and you're not. You can pay me for a lot of things that I don't want to do, and they're a-okay. Oops, made a mistake. Gotta get rid of that. Went straight from Scotland to Wales. There's actually this weird, I think it's called the Humber. There's this part of England. It's very weird. You know, geography in England. You're gonna learn about the UK in this video, but you're also gonna learn about what I've been up to, which has been the end of my self-isolation mandatorily period thing. I know it's been weird because I go back to the UK. You could argue at an inconvenient time because the whole country is doing nothing, something lockdown. But also you could argue it's convenient on the level that like, oh, so it meant that I had to. Right now, the UK has no normal entry restrictions, but if you do want to enter, you have to be locked away for at a bare minimum of I guess I wonder what's going on over here. The map is still just looking like a weird line. It looks like someone's really bad at drawing a straight line, which is not ideal. It's not what we're going for, if I'm being entirely honest. But you know, we'll get there eventually. And then we'll go this way. Yeah, that's right. You know, it kind of hurts destroying like an entire part of something because you made a slight mistake. But you know, these are things you gotta live with sometimes, and they hurt. But hopefully the end product makes it worthwhile. It's kind of funny. This is something like that's always like hurt me about like any form of art, I guess. Like you make a tiny mistake, and it's like it's all done and gone. Art was always one of the subjects I was like worse with, which is weird because Minecraft is arguably just an entire art/creative project, but it's also very arguably not, right? It's it's one of those games that really like defies being categorized in a lot of ways because it's like, what do you even call this game? It's like it's like, well, I kind of describe it based on whatever the person you're speaking to likes the most about it. Like, oh yeah, it's this game. It's like this 3D block editing game thing, but also, you know, there's survival mode and there's zombies. Like describing Minecraft itself is very hard. And Minecraft's like a physical thing that exists. That's why I always think that the challenge of like trying to describe a person in any way is going to be so unmeaningful. Like people on the internet, to go back to my previous point, like on the internet, like people have this real feel that the more they know about you, the more they feel like they know about you. And people have this real feel for like who you are and what that must mean, etc. And it's like, you know, I'm not sure that anyone has a really good idea. So we're going to have like 7 blocks going this way. And then we're going to go into the north bit of Wales, which is going to be like this. I'm using dirt right now because, again, eventually it'll become grass, which is an easy thing to keep in mind while we do all of this. And we dip right back down over to here. This is the north. I think it's called like the northwest of Wales. This is where the ferries to Ireland go from. Well, I can just give you a tour of the UK as I slowly place the borders of it and pray that I haven't made some fatal mistake that will make it look terrible. Because still, looking at the line, I see nothing. Actually, wait, my assistant is an American, so I'm gonna, while she edits this video, show on screen the moment where you like can spot this as recognizably the UK. I'd love to know from you when that moment comes. Okay, this is incorrect. This has got to go on the other side. Oopsie. We're gonna have a lot of these oopsies as we go along, I think. But yeah, it's interesting because all of the reasons that I was allowed to leave my house legally anyway are the reasons that I would leave for the most part regardless. Like, it's super interesting that like, oh yeah, you can... There's only like a few very specific reasons that you're not meant to anyway. One of those is travel, but like, obviously, just got back to the UK and it's 2020. Not many great compelling reasons to travel just yet. But 2021, boy, will that magically everything be okay. You know, there's I think a lot about societal myths, like things that like a country believes or has to believe or whatever levels. And I think it's interesting that like one of the big societal myths right now is just like, oh yeah, everything is like around the corner. Everything's like right now, right here. Because when there's hard things, believing it'll be over right away is like super important. It's like I always heard in school that like, oh yeah, people thought the World War I would be over by Christmas. That was the thing the British public told themselves. And I was like, well, they sure are stupid, because I'm studying history right now, and like, let me tell you, you know, I know that it ends in 1918, and that's not Christmas of 1914. Those idiots thinking that a thing could just end. And instead, you get this interesting thing where, like, if people had known the full extent of what was going to happen when the war had first started, there would be like mass outcry against it. But instead, there's this kind of like trickle movement. If you look into like how wars happen, where it's like, oh yeah, we'll just do this one limited thing. Everyone's on board with that. Yeah, this is for like safety and protection or whatever. And then you move on from that one trickle thing to like, well, now we've done that one thing. It makes sense to keep doing that one thing, right? You don't just do one thing and then stop. You've got to commit. And now once we've done the one thing and we've continued, like, we might as well up our response, because that one thing isn't working. Surprise, surprise. We definitely didn't know that going into this one. And the kind of like, I guess like trickle truth is how a lot of things work. If you think about Minecraft microtransactions, it started in a similar way, right? Like, oh, we're going to have one source of microtransaction. It's going to be, you can buy things to support creators in the store. It's something that's very hard to get not on board with, right? Like, people who make really creative things are now going to be employed by Minecraft. I still, every week I read about someone who is able to quit some day job and focus on making Minecraft maps full time, because the marketplace, it's incredible. Who could be against that? And then mixed in with the things that are incredible and who could be against it, you also see at the exact same time, then it's like, okay, now we've got this great workable system. I'm just going to place some dirt over here. See, Wales is starting to exist. I'm liking it. We are, contrary to all popular belief, Wales is in fact real. It seems. That's what I'm starting to hear, at least. Sources tell me that Wales sometimes exists. And now we go down a couple, and we go down over to here. There's this really, really thin line between the south of Wales and England. It literally is going to be in our example. Oh, we probably shouldn't use dirt. But in our example, it's going to be literally 2 blocks wide, and then there's going to be some England over there. So if we can get to England over here, that means that we've done correctly. If our lines don't line up, that means this isn't right. Yeah, this is still just a squiggly mess. I'll get back to you when it's slightly more recognizable. Hey, good news. It turns out we did in fact end up in the right place. Still not looking like England in the slightest, though. I'm also really worried I'm going to run out of space, but you ever do that thing where you think you're going to run out of space on the page, so you start, like, making your text really small? I'm moderately worried we're going to have to do that. Or we're going to have to choose between doing that, like squeezing our words to fit in before the end of the line, or not. Actually, you know, since some people like the dumb score stories I tell, just as a fun little minor story right here. One of the things I used to do, I guess I realized at age like 10 I had bad handwriting. I had to try really, really, really hard to have good handwriting. So some teachers would call me out on that and be like, no, you will write good things to make it easy for me to read. And I do way less work as a result, because it would take me so much longer to do every single little part of it, that then eventually some teachers were just like, okay, you're not sure. You can't write well. You can't write fast unless you're writing poorly. So I guess you can just keep writing, terribly. If you really have to, go ahead. And then I realized, okay, most teachers aren't even reading it because it was just so hard for them. So it was like an exercise in I think in reality, most of the things you write as a school child aren't read by anyone anyway. Again, maybe just me, maybe just my very ghetto school or whatever. But as a result, I realized that, if most of the time it's not being read, then maybe there's a little opportunity right here. Maybe I could just write especially terrible, and that way, most people just look at it, go, yep, that's writing. That vaguely looks like work, and then call it a day as far as pleasing things. And if someone ever did look at it, I could just interpret it on the spot, like, oh, this word says that, this says that. Do you want me to just read it out for you, and then I could end up not having to write things? So I just scribbled one of the things that I always hated, for no good reason, was I was always told, like, oh yeah, you've got to write down every piece of homework. It's against the rules not to. I'm gonna stare and make sure that it's all written in there. So at least if you don't do homework, it's because you weren't organized. It's not our fault. It was a weird thing that they were like so forceful about it. And so as a result, I just scribbled in there like, oh yeah, do science work. Or something super lazy that, like, if they looked, they'd see it was written down. If they asked, they'd be like, oh yeah, I said it says this. And I'm only like partially lying. You know, I learned a lot of like survival techniques in school. That like it took a while to unlearn. It took a while to be like, oh, most of the time, you know, there are people who care about what you, or at least some. Actually, not. I still think in most of life, vast majority of people don't care what you're doing. Like again, people say there's a world out to get you, man. But it's like, nah, there's a world out to just do their own stuff. And sometimes, a lot of you know, a lot of people's tasks is to like check on other people. And most people want to do that in the laziest way possible because no one really likes confrontation. No one really likes having long conversations about what's going on and why. So the easy solution to that is you work out like, all you have to do is provide the bare minimum so they can feel like they've done their job. It's kind of like the dumbest example of this is like seat belts on a plane. Like we all know, like, you know, this is a plane. It's mostly, you know, most crashes, no one's been like, oh, thank God I had my seatbelt on. And, you know, that actually, I joke about that, but that's actually not, you know, that's not what seatbelts are there for. Like, most crashes, even though people picture the most deadly crashes that happen in the air, like, you know, Malaysian, is it, like, called 380 or something? The big Malaysian Airlines flight. Like, you know, most people on that plane didn't really have an opportunity to be like, oh, I'm locked into my seatbelt. Thank God when we crash into the Pacific Ocean thousands of miles from land, or whatever happened, we still don't actually know. Thank God I had a seatbelt. But most crashes actually happen on takeoff and landing. The two most dangerous points in a flight are takeoff and landing, because obviously you're going into the air or out of the air. That's a place humans aren't really meant to go, and so that's the place that it's generally meant for. Fun fact: that's why you wear a seatbelt. But yeah, generally, like, it's very easy to not wear a seatbelt because who cares? It's your own safety. Their safety is to care about your safety. But if you don't care about, you know, it's that sort of thing. It's like also seatbelt law enforcement is another one of those things where it's like, you know what? We're gonna put in the an amount of effort that makes you think that like one extra reason to care about it. But most of the time, it's illegal not to wear a seatbelt. But do people really care? Like, I saw, I went to the Grand Canyon recently, and Arizona, I guess, is very heavy on seatbelts. It's the only state I've ever seen a sign that's like, wear your seatbelt, it's the law. And a part of me reads that sign and goes, okay, yeah, this sign is put up here to remind you, yep, you are meant to be doing that. But it also tells you they're definitely not enforcing it. Like, if you were going, because, you know, some countries, some places, do actively have people enforcing seatbelt laws. It's happened to enough people over the history of time that you should be wearing a seatbelt. It's a smart thing to do for yourself, but also, you know, like, as far as like things that police are dealing with, it's pretty low on the list. Like, stopping people from reducing their own safety is kind of low down on the list of like huge priorities that affect human beings all of the time. Also, there's a really flat bit of the English coast right here. Fun fact, somewhere along here. Wait, I'm starting to see England and Wales now. Like, I don't think most people can see this, but like, I'm really starting to like what I can see right here. I'm really starting to like it. Also, just for fun, just to make it like clear where Wales ends, I'm gonna entirely dirtify Wales. While I finish my previous point about like the trickle-truthing of things. So the thing about trickle-truth is like it's a very effective psychological strategy, especially because like arguing that like, oh yeah, things are only happening because something worse is happening in the future. It's generally seen as a fallacy. Most people won't take you seriously if you go, oh, this thing's bad because it'll lead to worse things in the future. Like, you know, I always thought, you know what, Minecoins as a whole are bad because it leads to, you know, it stops you realizing how much you're spending in Minecraft. Like, just let people buy things on the store, you know, but in real cash currency. And they added that option, but they just made it buying Minecoins and doing that sort of thing. And, you know, at the time it was just like, well, you know, it's Minecraft store content. How much can you really buy? But then they added server content where you could buy things on servers. And it's like, well, it's just the same thing, but for servers. You're supporting your local server. And Microsoft takes a cut. You know, you're just supporting, you know, like a thing that people are already spending money on these servers. Now you can do it in game. And Microsoft takes a cut. And then it was like, oh, now you can buy emote. Like, sorry. First it was like you can buy like skin customization. And then you could buy like emotes, and soon it will be capes and all sorts of things like that. And all of these things like individually are a fine continuation of the steps we've seen before. But it's a fun reminder of the fact that like, yeah, things go in a direction. And it's it's hard to, you know, not to look at those things, and it's hard not to do the whole slippery slope thing, given how effective that is when it works on humans. So we're gonna see how many blocks we've done this way and continue working on the coast. Wait, if you can't see it now, I bet by the time I finish this south coast, it'll be visible, right? Okay, now this is got to start to look like something, right? You know, you can see the little East Anglia, or as I once called it in a video, the pregnant belly of the UK. So if you don't know, I have a second channel. I talk about geography. I don't care. If you don't care about geography, you don't need to care about the channel. It's all good. I'm not going to do the whole self-promo thing here. But what I am going to say is that, like, I made a few videos just, like, casually talking about geography. It eventually became an entire channel, but let's not talk about that too much. And then instead just say that, like, it's weird that one of the things I noticed in the course of, you know, because once the channel expands beyond people who know you to, like, people who don't, people who show up just from recommended and whatever, you start to get this very interesting, I guess it's actually super valuable, this, like, dialogue on what your stuff looks like to people who aren't already familiar with it. And one of the things I learned is, like, people have, like, this violent hatred for things they, like I don't know, like, the dumbest of things, like someone being like, wow, you clearly aren't from the UK, because I've never heard anyone say that. And it's a fun realization of not only how angry people get on the internet, but also how regional a lot of stuff can really be, how different our stances can be based on just the tiny things of where we're born. Even within the same country, we can disagree majorly about what we decide to call that country. And that was like a huge insight to me. That one comment stuck out in particular because it was such a tiny remark. Like, oh yeah, it kind of looks like the belly of the UK. You know, perhaps the UK is pregnant, gonna give birth to another colony one day. You know, something like that. And it seemed like a, you know, entirely offhanded comment, but an offhanded comment that some people despised beyond all belief, because, you know, people be like that. People despise all sorts of things all of the time, and it's I want to say it's unavoidable. We have all sorts of phrases as society is like, oh, haters be hating, or whatever else. But I also think it's actually genuinely super valuable. I think, you know, like, even though some people will be like, I'm just brutally honest, I say how it is, and that's great. And, you know, even though those people are just using it as mostly an excuse to say, you know, not to filter themselves, to be nice to people, because social niceties do have a real value, in my opinion. But even though that's what people are saying most of the time, when they mean that, I think there is this super great value to people just saying how something looks. I think one of the things I like to do with strangers whenever I'm, like, having to meet a lot of strangers for a reason, it's like, okay, be honest with me here, Professor Stranger. They're a professor now. It's been decided. Professor Stranger, tell me the worst thing about me. Just immediately, your first impression, what did you dislike? And, you know, at first people are like, that's so funny, or like, oh, it's the way you did this. And it's like, no, hurt my do you want me to hurt your feelings so you'll hurt mine, or do you want to just do it? And then that, like, feedback, super honest. And even though I find most YouTube comments not to be useful, every now and then, you know, like, getting that, like, pure first reaction is genuinely very valuable, because even though, like, from you know, the pure first reaction isn't useful from your friends, because your friends will love you no matter what, and that's great. But if you have any form of life that isn't just your friends, like if you're, I don't know, like a real estate agent, if you're a, I don't know, a politician, there's also that, you know, if you're a flight attendant, so if you're a seatbelt putter honor, either for the police or for not the police, you know, you interact with people a lot, and those people are going to know you based on not only that first impression, but also the fact that they don't like you for whatever reason. Something about you has just hit them real wrong. By the way, do you like that I've moved my bed as well as my shulker boxes into Great Britain, and I've moved them roughly where my house is. Actually, it's a bit too far south. I think we're, like, south of London right now. We're near Gatwick Airport. I should totally make airports like little slime block bouncers for my Elytra. I should not do that. It's a fun idea though, right? Anyway, so let's get back to the UK. And let's get back to the interesting story, because, like, seeing people's unadulterated, just, like, first impression hurts and usually isn't useful. It's not, I guess it's not constructive all the time. I like constructive feedback. Like, if a comment starts with, ToycatA, I liked your video, but I'm way more likely to take it on board than, oh, you know, this is garbage, why is this in my recommended? It's like, I don't know why it's in your recommended. You're gonna have to tell me that one. Buddy, you're the, you know, your recommended is based on you. Do you know that? I don't know if you do. Clearly, you're not. aware of that. I think this needs to be taller. Yeah, I think we made a couple of mistakes here. This has to be taller, and then these all have to go, and then this has to be a few blocks high as well. I accidentally had like the east coast of Scotland being way lower than the west, and that could never stand. It's you know, I've got a lot of Scottish people watching this. They want to make sure I get their country right. The union's on the line. I've got to believe in myself so I can do this. But no, more seriously than making dumb jokes. I find it's weird because those first impressions, they're not how we should be judging people, but it's kind of how we are. And that, you know, what we should be versus what we are is this huge, ongoing, never solvable debate we have as a society all the time about everything. And it's never one with a clear answer, in my opinion. You know, honestly, how about we draw a line, we cut off England, and we say that this is a map of England and Wales. Beautiful thing about geography is you can just argue it was all intentional. Yep, all of that. Don't know what's going on there. All I know is that this is England over here, and we're gonna fill it in with dirt now. And we're gonna litter in just a few blocks of grass. You know, technically I said this whole video was taking place from those 2 shulker boxes. That is arguably not true, because I also have some grass I'm gonna be using. But yeah, it's gonna be real fun to watch it come to life, I think. Because hopefully now you look at this, if you know England's shape, and you're starting to see that. And if you're not, then maybe once I fill in the coasts on both sides. Although the green grass is really going to mess it up, because there's going to be a moment where it's not going to be clear what's what. You know, actually, I don't think I should fill in the grass until afterwards. I think sequencing on this project's important. Even though what I want to do right now is place the dirt, I think that'd be way more fun, like way more satisfying. I think we have to finish the outline of Scotland before we can start filling it in, or we have this real issue that we're going to see right here. Also, a fun little thing is going to be the map is slowly going to change as all of the dirt is placed. It slowly grassifies like that. So there's something fun. But yeah, there is this real struggle between what you think you are or what you want to be in some way, and then what you can actually end up doing and being. But one of the big examples of that conflict that we are always dealing with is, you know, I don't know, like the gym. You always, everyone gets a membership, especially in January, sales surge. And then throughout the year, sales stop surging. But people don't cancel their membership, partly because it's famously hard. But even, you know, gyms that don't make it hard, they know that you personally just aren't going to really want to cancel it. Because the moment you cancel your gym membership, you've given up, you've failed. If you don't cancel that membership, then you technically haven't failed yet, and you know you can go at any point in time. It's just because you've been busy recently, you know. You've just been done lots of other stuff, like the stuff that, you know, like there's things that you want to do, and there's things. Is this meant to be land? I think this might have to be sea. There's things that you want to do, and there's things that you end up doing, and we have this idealized version of ourselves and our behaviors. I saw the tiniest version of it recently. I know I'm gonna analyze a Garfield fan Twitter account right now, but there's an account that just it's one of my weirdest Twitter things I like. They just every single day post a video of Garfield singing the song Happy, or like dancing along to the song Happy. It's you know, it might seem crazy what I'm about to say, and then it's Garfield. It's a weird internet thing, and they just post it every single week. That's all they post. They did a Twitter poll of like, hey, you know what, should we keep posting just this same song every day? You know, like literally it's the same video every day. There's nothing changed about it. I don't know why I'm following it, but I'm intrigued. They asked like, should we keep posting this every day, or should we like mix it up and post other videos? And something like 45% of people were like, yeah, you should mix it up and post other videos. Everyone who's following that account, you know, like me, for whatever dumb reason you're there, you're not following it because you're like, oh, this is a funny Garfield video account. It's for some weird meme, right? You know, for whatever reason that is interesting. You know, the 4 seconds I spend watching that every day, I could spend being informed about the world. I could spend learning a new hobby. I could learn how to edit videos better, so I don't have to have an assistant to do it. That's right. You could be out of a job, assistant. But you know, like I could learn all these different skills and things. Or I could just work on my Minecraft world for 4 seconds. I could do something that brings me genuine joy. But for whatever reason, the 4 seconds instead of being spent there, every single time, every single day, they're spent on this same concept. Can I just say, by the way, the borders of Scotland are a nightmare. I'm looking at my very tiny ified version of 128 by 128 UK borders, and dear God, this is a thing, huh? This is a hard country to draw. Like, you can always get very rough with England because there's like a few jutty out bits, like Wales points out. There's that bit in the bottom right, bottom left, etc. But it's mostly pretty straightforward. Scotland is like, you need to be a professional cartographer, and then even then you're gonna make huge mistakes. There's this funny thing that we don't really know precisely how big or how wide a country is. We always just have to go based on approximations because the shoreline of a country can never be perfectly drawn, and even if it could be perfectly drawn, I guess is the word, it can never be perfectly measured. Fun fact, by the way, every verb ends with ed. I only learned this because I love tiny linguistics fun facts. But every like verb ends in ed unless it's like from a foreign language, and then it doesn't. So like, you know, I know drawn or something instead of drawed. But slowly over time, it becomes that way. So like sneak is snuck, right? Like I sneak, I snuck. But sneaked is slowly getting in there, right? Like you know, the reason that like, oh yeah, I went somewhere, I'm going to go. I guess the better way is like, I'm going to go somewhere. I goed somewhere isn't a word, it's went. Again, different language. So therefore we use their rules on the past tense version of it. But over enough time, if people get lazy, as famously that's the way English works, it's just the easiest path of least resistance forwards. And yeah, basically that's how words change. And that's why drawed will eventually be right if enough of us just say it. The whole English language is that way, which is funny because, again, lots of languages have this, like, idealized system where they're like, yeah, we're going to make perfect rules because the language should be an elegant, you know, thing of elegant design. It should be a beautiful thing that, you know, like, can be spoken and enjoyed and, you know, perfectly. There should be a correct set of rules because that's how we, like, want to think things are. You know, there's, like, laws, there's things you do, and there's things you can't do. But everything always has the layer of like, well, there's always the mess of that because, you know, for instance, of laws, it's like a law doesn't just magically make something happen, you know? You don't just say, oh yeah, I have written a law and it means that everything is okay now. You know, we're having issues with the economy, but then I wrote a law saying the economy was fine, and ever since then, I think you'll find the economy's been going great. You know, it's kind of, that'd be dumb, right? I think it's fair to say. But like we kind of use the approximation of like, oh yeah, law equals thing you must do, because we all live in an idealized system where we vaguely agree on that, and things vaguely agree not to set themselves on fire as a result. Okay, this is actually a real struggle of working out what the heck's going on with any of this. So I guess there's at least 3 of these, and then also over here, okay, wait, then this goes up there, because this last block is actually a big T. Oh my gosh, this is life is hard trying to draw Scotland on a map. You know, pro tip, if you're gonna do this of your country or area, try and take the most like simplified version of it. Like Nevada, easy to draw state. It's just a big triangle with a little square bit attached to it. Nice and easy. Scotland, oh god, don't even tempt it. If you attempt to do this, you're bringing on all of this pain onto yourself. Let me tell you that much. Okay, then this goes there a little bit, except this goes out like that. And oh my god. But yeah, English is a language that's just like, oh yeah, it exists how people say it. There's no official set of rules. People make those sets of rules. Like dictionaries exist because we like to believe that there's a way English is meant to be, but it's all just, you know, like people speak it entirely differently depending on where in the world you are. You might not even be able to understand a foreign English speaker. Like the way, for instance, in Singapore, they speak Singlish to each other. Right? It's a combination of English with like greetings and little loan words from Malaysian as well as Chinese, and you get, you know, a language that sounds like something else entirely. Even Scottish people, right? They live in the same country that English was born in. You know, they live in the UK. Well, although you could argue that Scotland's a country within that country, and therefore they're both in the country that invented English, but also not. But let's not dive into the complexities of the UK. We've got a whole channel to dive into weird things about countries, right? But the interesting thing is, like, even though they're within, they're like, I can take a train 4 hours north, and certain people I will not be able to understand within, you know, my own, let's say within my own borders. Let's put it that way. So That way there's no controversy from the 18 Scottish people watching this video. Hello, by the way. How's it going? I hope I'm drawing your country well enough to not offend you. I actually think this is looking like... Again, minus the islands are going to suck. Because islands, like, you know, if the islands off... Great Britain's a pretty small island anyway. Like, it's a big island in the sense of islands are generally small. And so Great Britain is, like, one of the 20 biggest on the planet or something. But then the islands that are just islands off the island of the UK, I'm saying island so much that it doesn't mean anything anymore. But those islands mean much less. Also, we're finally getting to the point where our things are going to meet. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great, I tell you. So, yeah, we just draw this all the way over to that. Oh, yeah, this is looking weird. I feel like I've done something horribly wrong in this corner. But I'm just going to work with it and then say, there we go, Scotland. No, something's wrong there, right? Something's off. I can't tell you what though, because that's technically what it's meant to look like. I guess it's not meant to be 5 blocks up. That's what's gone wrong here. This should be like 3 blocks, and then we should continue. Yeah, it's the same, but like there instead. So how do we make this match there? We'll just kind of, because the top left honestly looks not great either. If we just follow the exact same lines as over there, but instead matched into this. Maybe I did a third one of these little juts out. Everything will be fine. There we go. Just remove that. And then remove all of this. Pretend this doesn't exist. Do we have Scotland yet? I think we vaguely have Scotland. It still looks... Something still looks horribly wrong. Something has gone terribly, terribly wrong with Scotland. But if we ignore that, I think we can see the UK shape really taking form, right? Yeah, we make that corner a little rounder. That'll help. Maybe if we add that little island, the Shetland Islands. I think it's actually the Orkney Islands. But if we add those islands that should exist up here, maybe that will help things. I want to believe that will help things, because you know there's just this empty gap where something should be. But like you know, like people want to believe that like, oh yeah, I follow Twitter accounts that aren't just weird Garfield dancing because it's a meme, and memes don't make sense, but you enjoy them and you share them anyway. I enjoy this because I think it's a thing of that. But really, it's just like, no, you follow it because it's dumb. You follow it because for whatever reason, dumb things are worthy of praise on the internet, and maybe that's okay. You know, it's like if you ask people like what sorts of things they'd like to see promoted more, you'd be like, yeah, healthy food. I think there's a serious you know, why is there not enough healthy food being promoted here, there, everywhere? See, there's something still wrong there, but it does... I think the islands are starting to make mainland Scotland look better. I think so much of Scotland is islands that it's just a real struggle to do correctly. But let's take this right angle point right here, and let's work to the next island, which is going to be over here. So 1, 2, 3, and then upper block. Is it 3, actually? It's probably 3. And then upper block, and we start on this one. This is the, if I'm not mistaken, the largest island that's a part of the British Isles. It is. I can never even say the name because it's such a complex one. I think actually it might just be called the Isle of Skye. Maybe I could be wrong, but it's a huge island, but very few people live there. As is tradition. Bigger the place, because there's very little like to support someone living there. It's fascinating how many islands in the world, like, even though islands can make themselves rich through conquest or diplomacy or, you know, whatever words you like to use, whatever the UK did to get rich, you know, countries get rich via a lot of means, and therefore you might assume like, oh yes, islands could be rich. Like Singapore is the wealthiest country in the world if you go by GDP per capita or something like that. And therefore, like, islands must be rich. But then you have islands that literally live off fishing because usually there aren't natural resources. It's just what you have. Ooh. I think it's looking worse the more that I do. If we remove that, is it helping? Yeah, I feel like we did like a 10 out of 10 job in England. Like, I generally see no flaws in England, and then like a 7 out of 10 with Scotland. But now we have to fit it all in. I'm also going to add the Isle of Man. It's maybe offensive to miss Scottish islands, but... have that Isle of Man, actually. Should we add in another Scottish island or two? I feel like we should. Okay, there we go. That's all of the islands, if I'm not mistaken, besides Ireland. Although including Ireland is like a tricky one, because you could include the entire island and then be like, it's the British Isles. But then, you know, someone's going to be like, ToycatA's claimed it. And you know, I have enough controversies with my questionable drawing of Scotland. I don't want to add Northern Ireland into the mix. You know, we'll just assume that Ireland and Northern Ireland reunify at some point, and therefore this map will be accurate. Or, you know what, comments below, let me know. Should I have Ireland to the west there? There is this very, like, big spot that could fit it comfortably. And, you know, like, my UK is slightly off-center, like, ready to add an Ireland in there. So, you know, we'll see what we decide. But now we have to add the dirt to make up the mainland. Obviously, it's going to be grass, because, like, the way usual maps work, for whatever reason, is, like, green equals land. Obviously, if green is land, blue is sea. And we can't have sea in the middle of the UK. This is the UK after X number of years of sea level rises, am I right? There we go. This is me making a grand point about why you need to recycle your cats more. But the other thing that I'm making a grand point of today's video is that I've had a pretty good week, all things considered. I actually have considered the exact, like, even though I just brought it up as an example, I have considered the whole gym thing. But like also stuff like, I don't know, every day the amount that like, there are days where the amount that I think I can get done is like so much higher than is in reality. And sometimes I'm like bummed about that. Like, yep, just didn't do as much as I wanted to. But being realistic about how much you can actually do is important. Like another thing that I need to be more realistic about is phone calls. I despise phone calls with so much of my being. And if something requires a phone call, I will do everything in my life to put it off. There are things that I have been putting off for, you know, I'm 25, but there are things I've been putting off for literal months just because it involves a phone call. I asked on this channel if like, is it normal for a door person to take X% deposit and then et cetera, months before the door is there? And everyone was like, yeah. It's been weeks and he hasn't responded to my emails. Like he's sitting on a lot of my money right now. You know, only a few hundred, but like a lot of money, which I would argue a few hundred is a lot of money. I mean, not relative to a door or a house, but relative to some stranger's bank account, I would say, yeah, that's been chilling there for some time, huh? And you know, just like, oh God, I'm gonna have to call up. I'm not so excited to do it. Another example is my doctor. I deliberately have a doctor where you don't have to make appointments via the phone. You just go in person. But because of current times, that whole service has been cancelled because they don't want people to, you know, I don't understand it. I'm assuming they don't want people to catch it in the waiting room or something like that. And so as a result, you have to phone up to make an appointment. I could have like the most serious symptoms tomorrow, and unless they're bad enough to go to a real hospital, where by the way, no phoning up needed, I'm probably not gonna make the call. Like I despise. I think phone calls are just such an inefficient way to talk. We invented a better method, and for some reason we keep around this whole like, oh, what if I use this weird cellular network and then we connect our voices together and we have a voice call? Like even like Discord voice calls or whatever people do a lot these days, even that is like, oh, what if we went to a place where I had to dedicate all of my time and energy to you and you dedicated all your time and energy to me? You know, wouldn't that be way more fun than just texting when we feel like it? Yeah, I think that would be. Yeah, that'd be great. What if I just need to make a single appointment, which by the way should be, I click a button online saying I would like to come in at this time, you tell me there is availability, and then we're done. You know, most of the time when I book plane tickets, the way it works, I go online, I say, here is some money, please would you give me a seat on your flight? And they go, yeah, we have taken your money, here is a seat on your plane. Well, like when people want to take money from you, they're like really innovative with ways to get it done. And when there's like annoying things, you know, like, oh yeah, now that my door guy has taken my money, he stopped responding to the emails. I'm gonna have to call him up physically, because why would he go through the effort if you know, that, you know, like, it's crazy to me. It's like, you know, airlines, they take your money online, only refund your money via the phone after hours of waiting. We just have this, like, real asymmetry. And, you know, like, it's really fine in theory because, oh yeah, I can just make a phone call. Like, and in reality, I can just make a phone call. I just really don't want to. And knowing that about myself is useful. So yeah, what have I been up to? Not making phone calls. But I have been now, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm gonna learn to drive. Not because it's funny. I think I've got like the most weird edge case for like, I want to learn to drive. I have no need to drive in this country I call home. You know, this one you're looking at. Which, by the way, I haven't actually done a quick look at it. Let's fly in the sky. Let's see how it actually looks from. Oh my god, it looks so much better when you looked at it like this. Like, Scotland actually looks good if you do that. Yeah, you know, I made the UK today. It only took me an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, I love that had to be cut, as it turns out. I wonder why that is. Yeah, basically, the difference between how we idealize ourselves and how we are is really, really valuable. Because also, like, your expectations of other people get clouded in the same way. Have you ever heard the phrase of rose-tinted glasses? You know, like, oh yeah, when you're in love with someone, or like when you fancy someone, perhaps we could say is a better phrase. You start to really, you start to see their stuff like that you would normally see as really annoying. It's like, oh, that's so cute, because you imagine a version of them. And the reality is no one can be as charming and great and delightful as the imagined version of someone you put in your head. Like, how can imagination fight reality? It's very hard. Which is actually one of the, like, I think about it a lot. That's one of the, like, real struggles of our species for the next while or so. Like, how once we get games and once we get these things sufficiently as good as reality, in terms of how they appear to us, if they feel the same way as the real world, but then we can control those feelings, how's real life ever going to compete? Already, just a social media algorithm, you know, an algorithm that shows me Garfield singing to the song "Happy" by Charles Barkley, I want to say. I don't know who it's by, but like Gnarls Barkley. It shows me just Garfield dancing to that one song every single week, and it knows that that's correct somehow for whatever magic beans control the internet. Like those algorithms are already, in a lot of cases. Have you seen people go to dinner? What they do, I looked around in LA. It's way more common there than it is here, I'm assuming, because it's more entertainment focused in that country. But people are just on their phones, you know, like they're not talking to each other, they're talking to their phones. The world of phones is more interesting than the world of real worlds. And people say that's like, oh, I think phones are really making us disconnected. I think it's like, yeah, people are boring compared to like, you know, a tailored for you feed off you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else. Like, of course it's gonna be boring. You're watching this video right now because some algorithm thinks it's more interesting to you than going and hanging out with phone. You know, you don't want to voice call your friend for the amount of time you've been watching this video, but you had no qualms just sitting here watching this on demand as you could. And given that, you know, like, your friend requires some commitment, making a phone call requires like scheduling, requires putting yourself out there, being like, hey, you know, I missed this, I missed us, let's talk about it. And you haven't done that. The idealized version of you doesn't realize that, because you think like, well, of course I'm not, you know, of course I'm not lured in by social media algorithms. Of course that's not a thing for me. But I mean, it totally is, right? Also, we have to go get some more dirt, but then that would disprove my point about living in from one shulker box. Unless we take the same shulker box back and use that. I like to fly really high so I don't have to waste my fireworks, but it means you have no idea what's coming until it's like below you or you hit it. So it's really important to pay attention to your Y coordinates. Oh, as in why do I make these decisions? Okay, where are we at? We're at the bumblebee. Perfect. Oh, there's a bee over here. How cute. Okay, so let's go in. Let's fill this with dirt. Let's go back. Let's make a nice smooth exit and call it a beautiful day. I think that'd be great. So, yeah, I think the idealized version of yourself is something that, like, it's fun to imagine. It's good to imagine we're all great. It's good to imagine everything is wonderful and delightful and there are no flaws in the world. Also, I think I'm running out of dirt. I genuinely don't think I can fill up the UK with the dirt that I have, which might be a bit of a problem. This is my dirty secret, if you will. See, I'm funny. I make jokes. This is why you should subscribe to me instead of your friends. You're not subscribed right now? What a tarnation. How about I use the power of parasocial guilt to say, you know what? It's fine if you're not subscribed, because even if you're not subscribed, you might like something I've been working on. So many people loved my, you know, to celebrate 11 years of the channel in May, I released like a limited time ToycatA plush, and you know, that was a really fun little, you know, one-off product. People seem to really love it, and I've had non-stop requests to re-release it, but I'm passing to mind like, you know what? I like the idea that it's a physical thing. It existed during that one point in time. You can probably find them secondhand somewhere, maybe, if you're really lucky. You know, there's some. I like that that's like people's decision to make. It's not my decision, it's people's. Also, this is very bizarre. What is this? Where are we? Okay, there's my stuff. We know my stuff is there. I think I just outflew the render distance for too long. Hey, it's spawned in now. Perfect. And now we can go to sleep. And we can finish placing our dirt and pray it fills up the UK. If not, then we'll be adding some lakes. Some man-made lakes. But some lakes regardless. It will be great, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm just of the opinion that, you know, we sometimes are clouded by our imagination of what would be great rather than thinking like, okay, how's it actually going to be? Like an example is like, even though my genuine belief is, if you look at like, I don't know, the pandemic situation, and you look at countries that don't have any restrictions on what you can do, people still aren't just like going out and having parties of 10,000 and like sneezing at each other in the street, right? Like people will do good things even if you don't tell them to. But even, and you know, like the reason we elect political parties is based on their ideas, right? Like we agree with their ideas, their idealistic version of the world, so we expect them to implement them. And that's why I find it to be, you know, like it sounds like one of the worst things on the surface when you hear that, like, I don't know, a person, again, even though it's against what his party believes in, decided to, let's say, lock down a country or something, and you're like, you know, that seems really dumb. Why would, you know, like we all know people can make responsible decisions, and that's like my feeling in my head. But also, like, if you were in charge of a country, you had literal 60 million people would follow the rules you were given, and it's like, oh yeah, someone comes up to you and says, okay, here's the lives that will be lost if you tell people to do this and force them to do it. You know, like, you lose their freedom, which is, I guess, arguably an idea, and then they gain their life, which is very much more. And if we ignore that, then here's how many people will die. And just knowing that it's like, oh yeah, you could save 100,000 people by just abandoning one idea, by just realizing that people, no matter how good your ideas are, not all people conform to them. And yeah, one of the things I think about a lot, because you know, this week I every now and then I end up in an internet community, and it seems like entirely incomprehensible to me, because I've always known that, like, you know, values aren't universal. One of the things that divides us, one of the reasons we believe different things on, like, you know, if there is a magic person who can tell us all things to do, they should tell us the right things, right? But then what is right, what is wrong, etc. is a whole debate that you have to have, because it actually tends to vary from person to person. But how can right and wrong vary from person to person? We're always taught that, like, morals and ethics and everything like that, it's just objective, you know, like there's just some objective truth, but morals vary from person to person. The most important things, if you had to prioritize a list of, like, you know, life, freedom, family, servitude, not servitude, like, you know, like, if you had to, like, you know, value these things like courage, strength, etc., etc., people put them in different orders because the values that we have as humans are different. We have a shared set of values and we have the same list, but we vary that list up. And so one of the things I realized is, while I was on some random forum, is like, oh yeah, there are some corners of the internet that don't have that same bent, where they realize that there are corners of the internet that don't. One of their value judgments that they get different is they assume that their morals are universal. That, like, of course, if, you know, the only reason people could not be against me is because they don't care about saving human lives at all. You know, like, oh yeah, the only reason to be against this thing is that you don't care about human lives. It's like, I do care about human lives, just not at the expense of X. Because ultimately, that's what life really is. I think, you know, one of the things I've realized, like, getting back to the UK, is I'm trying to do a lot of things over the next month. Like, I'm trying to stream every day. I'm trying to release some videos. I've been really down the speedrunning rabbit hole. I don't know if anyone's learned about that, but, like, so I've got some speedrunning videos I'm working on. I've been trying to release like videos and take a lot of time to do the research for. Like, there's one you're gonna really appreciate. There's that merch thing I mentioned. Like, there is a follow-up to that ToycatA plush that's gonna be one time only. It's probably gonna be the last one I do for a very, very long time, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. It's a brand new product. I think I'm the first one to launch one of its type, because, you know, I'm doing something unique. So, like, going through the process of that at the same time as also, you know, having the casual talks to the third channel, also trying to be healthier, etc. Like, realizing that, like, oh yeah, you're one person, you can't do all those things. It's about balancing. If I decide to stream today, it means I have to do a little bit less work on this video. If I want to work on this video today, it means that I have less time to cook food, so I'm gonna have to eat perhaps less healthy food, or at least faster food. You know, let's call it. You know, yeah, fast food has a bad connotation. I just want faster food. I just want speedy food. Which honestly, you know, it's weird because fast food is 2 adjectives. And fast, I mentioned before that they don't even imply it correctly. Like, you could be waiting a while for fast food. I need speedy food. I don't need fast food, which just means vaguely unhealthy, consistent food. But instead, what I need from life is I need speedy food. That should be like an actual fast food place. Like, hey, this place in the Netherlands I really love. They have like vending machines that like you throw in, I think it's €1, and you get a snack from. Like that snack could be a burger, could be a weird sausage dog thing. I guess you could like a corn dog. They've got lots of weird snacks you can buy for like €1. It's really fun. I like the idea a lot because I know I don't like talking to humans, and that's why self-service machines are a dream. I've been to a McDonald's before, been like, no self-service machine. I'm good. Before in my life, because like it's one of those things. Like talking to another person sometimes just isn't the right thing, right? Just isn't a good thing. And knowing that about myself, knowing how you can work with that, a valuable thing to realize. And that's sometimes I hear people say that like one of the things about growing older is just you learn who you are and you're less stressed about trying to prove it to people. And I think sometimes that is true because I heard a song for the first time in 10 years yesterday. I couldn't tell you what it's even called. I could like sing it to you, but it's YouTube. It's like, everybody, I think move your feet and move your body. Whoa. Like as a child, I loved that song. But I realized like I didn't love the song. I liked, you know, my a couple of friends of mine. I guess like my brother and a friend of mine both liked it a lot. Like, and I was like, oh yeah. And then like someone told me like, oh yeah, you love this song. And I'm like, yeah, I do. You know, like the people I like it as well. And like trying to prove it. It's almost like this big like trying to prove a thing to everyone around you. Sometimes, you know. And it's like, you know, maybe we shouldn't be proving things all the time. Maybe we can accept that things and people and stuff are different. Maybe that'd make the world a better place. Just realizing that, you know, not everything has to match me. Not everything has to be a direct representation of me to be good. There are things that are not direct representations of me that are not good. And there are things that represent me that are. But that fact is all irrelevant and all fine. I really like what we've done here. I want to say before we go, because we've got 38 blocks of dirt left. I want to say before we go, this is a fun thing we've achieved here. It was dumb, and some people always look at this and be like, oh yeah, there was no point. You could have just, I don't know, MC edited it in, or you could have done something like that. But I think the joy of doing things in survival is like working towards something does feel good. Like it's by some people's value sets, like doing something in the least efficient path is entirely worthless, I'll admit. But to me, in my imaginary value set, I like it a lot. And I like what we've produced here. And I think once we get this fully green, it'll look really good. But before we can get it fully green, what we need to do is we need to admit that this... I guess we don't need the black stone here anymore, so we'll take that with us too. What we need to do before we can admit that this is... Also, wait, here's a fun one. The beds, even though there was a whole update, beds still show as red on maps. Also, for whatever reason, you can see my shulker box is still showing on the map. Okay, it's gone now. But, yeah, but when they changed the color of beds, they didn't change how they appear on maps. So you can see it makes a little red spot on there. That's fun. That's a quirky little Easter egg. So yeah, that's a much better representation of where I live in the UK. I now have my bed representing where I am in the UK. And also, I didn't even put together that it was raining. UK, haha, funny joke. But we have a representation of the UK. It's great. I haven't covered it in grass yet. I think what might be fun is if we do just a whole episode of the Let's Play that's just watching grass grow. Do you think you'd like that? I think you'd like that. So, yeah, if we take the grass away now, we could put it back later and then like just watch grass grow and do like a podcast style Let's Play. Because it's been long enough since we've done one of those. Like when we do a lot of Minecraft stuff, it's great. But there's a lot of jumping, there's a lot of stuff. We're gonna do a podcast style thing, and no one's gonna enjoy it, but I'm gonna enjoy it. And maybe that's the important thing. Speaking of important things, I hope you all enjoyed this video. You know what's important? The fact that you, dear viewer, wait, actually, you know what's way more important than the self-promo I was about to do? That's right, I'm gonna place my map back where it should be, and you're gonna notice how the little line is gone, and now there's a random little UK chilling amongst all of this, like, and I think that's great. So yeah, I need to fill in those holes, just so it looks better when you see it in tiny from far away. But now we can mostly have a little, by the way, this isn't technically the UK, this is Great Britain. It's missing Northern Ireland as well as all the overseas territories. But I like the idea of like having little drawings of places to represent the things. And now if we want, we can actually build some stuff on Great Britain and have an actual thing there, like, I don't know, a squid farm, if that's even a thing. I generally don't know if you can farm squid. I don't look into many Bedrock farms because they change so often from update to update. But for what it's worth, we have the UK on a map. And I like that. I like that a lot. That was cool. I'm going to watch this back and I'm going to see when the editor realized it, like, could see verifiably it was the UK. Because I'm super curious about that. But what else I'm curious about is you coming and checking out my streams. Honestly, the one thing that would help me out more than anything else is if you come check out a stream. If you like the Let's Plays, there's a good chance you'll like the streams. I don't ask for anything but your time, because I enjoy. And if you want to come chat, to hang out, obviously, it's a busy time, but it's a fun time too. And if you want to enjoy that, you want to see some live ToycatA content. It's kind of like the Let's Play, but it only happens live, and it happens every day at roughly the time this video was uploaded. Actually, I guess I'm uploading these at different times because of streamers. You know, come watch the live stream. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe with the bell on, whatever you need to do. But I hope I see you in a future video. Goodbye. I was going to use black wool for this, and I decided blackstone was a smarter idea. I'm so glad I did. But yeah, have a nice day, everyone. Good meow.